Komt u weer.
Okay.
Formula 1!
Yeah.
Yo, everybody!
Hello, back again. Yeah, I forgot to press record, so we were already into the podcast for half an hour. No.
Nah, 5
Something
minutes.
like
And
that.
we talked about our grey hairs and Formula 1.
Yeah.
So it was
So literally
very
missed
exciting.
nothing.
No, they missed nothing. Just that the TV direction in Monaco from Formula 1 was not so good. And the Dutch commentary on Ziggo is fucking terrible. It's like, it's insane how bad it is.
Is there
for
anything
the
which is Dutch and maybe TV or radio related that you actually like, Jopke? Because
No.
we have been in conversations earlier and everything that's Dutch gets...
I think here in Holland, like especially our F1 TV commentary is a good example of mediocrity being presented as really good. But if you compare it to the English commentary, which I now can through F1 TV, and I'm not sponsored, but it's so much more information about the race, about the drivers. So yeah, I think we
I
in
think
Holland,
you're not the right one to be sponsored by F1 TV because you have a really slow car.
Ooh, shots fired.
well, you know that Carlos Sainz drives in a Polo, so
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, well, not when he's doing
He's
the
a Formula
F1.
1 driver. He
That would
he
be
was on the podium
hilarious
in
when he
Monaco.
would be driving around everybody with his polo.
No, I'm just saying you don't have to be. You don't need a fast car to be a fast car expert, like me.
Okay. And what was bad about? How did you say it? Like the
Commentary.
TV
imaging?
direction. Well, Monaco is a race on a street circuit where there's not much happening. And if there is something happening, you need to be as a TV director on that. And there was like the big moment in the race where someone pitted and came out in front of another driver, and the TV direction shut off and went to a rerun of someone flying over a curb. Like, couldn't be worse timing. And yeah, even if you start that rerun, why don't you right away cancel it when you see something's happening? But yeah, there were more things showing certain pit stops when there was action on track. And
You know what's so interesting about the Formula 1? What I at least think is interesting, I really don't get why it's so big.
Did you watch the Netflix series?
Yeah, I did, and I do. I like it personally, as in,
It's
I'm not a guy.
The documentary.
I'm not a
It's
guy
really
who watches all the races. I did visit a race, I think 2 years ago, in Belgium, for the first time, just to experience it. But especially when I went to that show, it became really obvious to me, like, it's a super weird environment. Like, there's a few super rich people, and there's few that whole industry is running on money, kind of, as in it's all sponsored and stuff, and there's a lot of billionaires who are paying for the teams to actually be able to drive. But it's interesting for me to see that there's so many people who like that sport, that it's so big.
I think, of course, it's been there for a long time. Car racing is, in general, already quite popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's lots of... once you get like into Formula 1, there's a lot of sides to it. You have like the personal driver stories. You have the sponsor stories, which can be interesting. The races are just cool to watch. Or the pit stop strategies. My English is on point today. I think there's so many different aspects of it that it just is a very broad audience. That
Diverse, yeah. But what I get
like
from the
it, yeah.
documentary, especially, is that how fragile it is, as in financially. So that if one person decides to stop backing a team, the whole team can collapse. It was like, okay,
It's not a healthy sport, actually. That's why you see the teams which are backed by the big car manufacturers. They will be victorious, or they have the continuity or the money of Red Bull, of course. But it's also what I don't like about Formula One. Goes for most of the drivers also. If you don't come from money or a certain degree, you're not going to get a chance. We actually don't know who's the best driver in the world, because 99.999% of the people will never get a chance to even...
There's probably a lot of talent in the normal people with normal income.
Yeah.
But Lewis Hamilton said it got even worse with the difference and with like how rich you have to be to become a driver. He said it's gotten worse over the years, and that someone like him he says he's from working class. I don't really think so, because his dad was always there with him on a kart track. If you're from working class, you don't have time for that. But like for average people, it's just so hard to get into it.
Almost impossible.
And that's what I think is so weird about that whole industry. Like, it's so big, but if you watch the documentary, it's so crooked from all sides. Mm-hmm. And that to me felt kind of unnatural. I don't know, just weird.
I did really like Toto Wolff. He's the alpha.
He's amazing.
Toto Wolff?
Yeah, he's the boss of Mercedes. And what I do like about them is that they focus on the driving, whereas all the other teams with Red Bull also, I don't know what the guy is called, but he's continuously going about, tries to bend the rules to get some advantages. That's not what it's about. It's about racing. Focus on the racing.
I don't think so. I think that's what Toto Wolff can hide very well. All the teams try to find rules which they can bend, like Mercedes did last season with the steering wheel that you can push in and forward to change the camber. But like, that's the cool thing about the sport, and it also takes care of, because of that, people start being very inventive with new ways to achieve speed and safety and whatever. That's why we get like on our steering wheels in normal cars, we have all these buttons these days. It's all started in Formula One. Seatbelt safety.
The best
everything.
cars only have 2 buttons.
But just to say, like, there's a lot of
even airbags
inventiveness.
Airbags came from Formula One, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but like a lot of inventive ideas and a lot of safety features are coming from Formula One. Also, the hybrid technology, they were the first to optimize
what's the
it
safest sedan?
Yeah, I know, it's a Tesla.
I know,
but that's not what it's about. That's not what Formula One is about, you know.
Well, they're doing a hell of a bad job then if they took all this time to be surpassed by a new car maker from the States, which is just barely 10 years old.
No, Tesla's doing a very good job. The other ones are not doing bad.
The other ones in the F1 are doing a bad job.
If you have a number one hit in the charts, that all the other ones are shit. I don't agree. So.
Isn't this like the same as we talked last time that
safety is safety?
No, but it's more like
safety is safety. It's not music. Yeah.
I mean, like it's the same as last time that
we can't say the other ones are shit.
That there's always one personal like the most expensive things pay for the things that become normal and affordable. As in last time we talked about TVs. You know, in the beginning they were really expensive and only for like luxury classes. Now they're affordable for everyone because someone paid for all the developing cost. And I think that's what's happening with Formula One as well.
Yeah, to be honest, if you see that Porsche, they don't have a team in the F1 or some. I think the innovation level of F1 is really... It's not there anymore. Could be. I mean, airbags, what are we talking about? In the 90s? What's up? We're living in 2020 right now. And I don't think a lot of innovations come from the F1 right now. To be honest, the Mercedes isn't the leading brand they were. They used to be. Like I talked Porsche, they're doing a way better job than Ferrari even. So, I think that's not an argument. But coming back to F1, that's I don't like the money which sets the rules. And it should be about more. It should be about the driving, and it should be about some healthy competition, and not about the money. And the money is so decisive in that sports that
if you followed Formula One over the years, they already made changes, and they're going to change more and more to reduce the money gap, so to speak, and to make it a more fair race. So they're inventive on that part. And I think what I like about Formula One as well, and about what the teams and drivers understand, is that the end goal is entertainment. And that's why the Netflix series is so awesome, because they give so much access to you don't see that in any any other sport I know that is so big. For instance, football is like the guys are told what to say and what not to say. And with Formula One, you see the meeting of Ferrari, for instance, where they are told what to say and what not to say, and then they say something else. So it's like they're very open, which I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, I really love the documentary as well. It's really good.
It's great.
All 3 seasons, and you wouldn't expect the 3rd season to be as entertaining as the last 2, but it still is. Yeah.
Is that also the reason why you guys love the music industry so much, because of the fact that money is less important, and that the underdog still has an opportunity and a chance to become big?
Yeah, and especially the dance industry.
Yeah, I think it's that's what changed over the past 10 years or something, that a guy on a laptop on an attic like Martin Garrix can make Animals and blow up and become number 1 worldwide from a laptop, where 20 years ago you needed some studio equipment at least.
But not only that, you can now at some point when YouTube just came, you could upload your own track, make your own bootlegs, fuck them to all the big record labels, and you could get famous. And people, they would sing your song or hum it or whatever, because they knew it from the internet, and that really changed a lot. And I think that's why that dance scene, it's supposed to never be there and that big, because the majors weren't involved. That was such a nice thing about it. And then the money didn't matter either. And there were raves with I don't know how many people. Ticket prices weren't too high back then. Now they sometimes are. Now still sometimes they're not. I mean, it's a really versatile world, and that's what I like about a lot of stuff. Even soccer, because I hate soccer from time to time. Also, when I see Neymar falling over every grass spriet there is, and but still, it's a cool thing to see guys working themselves up and be the new
I guess that's the last step that one of the steps that Formula One misses, which is also what you were talking about and Lewis Hamilton was talking about. It would be awesome if every person kind of had a chance, and of course in a lot of sports rich kids are gonna have more chances, but like with football, it is truly more. There's more percentage which is about talent. Yeah, that is actually how it should be a bit more in Formula One as well, I think.
But don't you think with Formula One's definitely harder, because if you compare it to an artist, as you mentioned, like 20 years ago, you at least needed some sort of studio equipment or a decent room or a tape recorder. So you already needed to have the financial options to buy that stuff. And without that stuff, you simply weren't able to do it.
I think what changed even more, and that's what Lewis Hamilton was talking about as well. Like, first you needed go-karts, and that's already a lot of money. Now you need all that money, and then you need sponsorships, which are big, and millions of euros from some sponsor you bring along. And that's why I see now a couple of kids in those cars that just brought a big sponsor or have a rich dad. Yeah, it's kind of awkward, really.
Well,
and
if you're able to find a good sponsor, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of a business thing which you can learn on a young age. Go to a sponsor and see if you get a car, can get a car sponsored. I think also over time, when the simulators get better and better, I think it might be the case that we see some talents arise. And
Let's hope so.
who knows what that's gonna bring. I mean, I don't know the Formula One game that well. I know you do, Jopke, on PlayStation. But who knows, the number 9 of the world on F1 on the PlayStation will be given the chance to do it in a real Formula 3 car. I don't know what's there. And who knows, maybe he's going to drive them all to smithereens.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Would you say that
cool.
a label kind of is a sponsor? That a label is what a sponsor is for a Formula One driver. A label can be for an artist.
No, I don't think you can really compare the two as much.
I think there's not much comparison between the F1. It's a bad topic to do a podcast for us.
It's not a bad topic, but like the comparison is hard to make. Let's
no, but I'm just wondering that an artist also kind of needs, well, you might call it a sponsor or like a support.
Well, an artist needs somebody that believes in their music.
Yeah.
I mean, you start out with no profile at all. But that's also what I notice. Yeah, it's a matter of perception, I think, because a lot of labels, they don't want to get involved with an artist if the artist doesn't have a profile. Sometimes when an artist has a bigger profile, they kind of look not at the music anymore. They think, hey, that's a big artist, let's have him or her do a track here. Whereas, it needs to be the way that as a label or another artist or whatever, you need to believe in the music you hear and you want to be invested in it. And that's how it's supposed to be, but it's not.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's kind of the same thing as what's happening in Formula One, but just on a smaller scale. But it is already happening, right?
It's everywhere in the world, and that's because, like the F1, and here's the bridge. It's all about money. I think
it's just that, without making a joke out of this, but as an artist, you actually have an option to bypass that whole system at this moment, which is self-releasing.
Hey. No, but I think
no, truly, without joking,
it is.
Without joking, it's a way to bypass the system, and as a driver, you don't have that option.
I don't think you need money to become big as an artist. That's
no, not
thing.
At all.
You need some. Let's say it like, okay, for a lot of people, this is a lot of money already, like for a laptop or whatever. But other than that, you don't need a lot of money, and you can make a hit that a label will release, or you release yourself, and it will be big. I think that's the cool thing. Did that not make sense? Did that make more sense in my head?
It makes perfect sense.
Until you said release yourself.
But it's the self-release thing. Again,
okay.
How can it be funny for 3 weeks?
I'm a serious guy, I'm a serious guy.
Even longer. Oh, shit. Yeah. Anyway.
But I think that's cool. Like, to drive, like to buy a go-kart is more expensive than a laptop.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop that comparison. But
what about this? What about having all the options you have as an artist at this moment, and still take kind of the easy road and start doing remakes of 90s tracks, zeros tracks, whatever. Like, if you turn on the radio right now, it's almost impossible to not hear a remake.
It's fucking terrible. It's
what's your opinion on that?
It's all fucking terrible. All the remakes should be unreleased. No, there are some remakes I like, but what I hate about it is that you can easily hear the difference between some guy had a track in his childhood and he was like, I'm such a big fan, hey, I made this edit of it and it's so cool. I want to release it under the same name. But what's mostly happening is that labels and artists are saying, hey, that works with streaming, that will be played on the radio, so I'm gonna make that. That's my big problem with it, because you can also hear that in the remake. So you can just hear the generic remakes, and there are a lot of them at the moment. So I think if we're gonna look back at dance music in this era, what was topping the charts, it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be like, oh, this is all 90s tracks, but in a new ugly skin, and yeah, there's no new hits, not that many maybe. But that's a very pessimistic.
What do you think of Lucas and Steve new track?
I didn't hear it.
Which one is that?
They redid Blackstreet. No, just joking.
Yeah.
We did also last year a remake of Bronski Beat. Supermode did it. It's the Runaway, or there were 2 tracks together actually. What do you know? You do notice that it gets easier support from the big platforms, easier support from the radios. Yeah, people tend to like the remake. We also did a few years back a remake of Gigi D'Agostino, The Riddle. And that one also went really well. What I don't like about doing too many remakes is that you don't have a real individual character as an artist. If you're that remake guy, then who are you? That actually makes you kind of a cover band. And but if you do it in a certain degree, sometimes, it's cool that you can have your sound be heard more by making use of an old track. And I said Lucas and Steve, I think they are doing a good job also, because they have this balance going on between doing remakes and doing their own original stuff. And but also there you see that the remakes tend to score a little bit higher than the original stuff. That kind of not really upsets me, but I would see it. I rather see it differently. But that also is a little bit how the world works. We notice it too.
There's a perfect explanation for that, and that's because people don't like new stuff. People like to hear something they recognize.
Yeah,
Simple.
Well, I gotta say, I've seen people walk in certain shoe brands, and I don't know which they are, but they looked fucking ugly and fucking weird, and they still bought them for 700 euros. What are they called, those shoes?
Balenciagas?
Balenciagas, that's the one. I don't get it at all. And do they like? People are creatures of habit. That's definitely true. But I don't know if they don't like new stuff.
Well, they do like new stuff. It's just harder to sell them new stuff than it is to sell them something they already know.
That's true.
And that's why bootlegs work so great. That's why remakes work so great. Because automatically, without maybe even consciously knowing, they already recognize the song.
It's some nostalgia, If you're
sometimes
30 and you hear a song that was big when you were 16, you think about that holiday, and you can sing along the lyrics.
Brings back emotions, brings back memories. But nonetheless, it's just easier to sell someone something they know than it is to sell them something they don't know. And I agree with you that it's pretty boring, but at the same time, if you use it to build your career, it's a super easy tool to gain an audience, to gain followers, and then take it from there with your originals. Rehab did that, right? Rehab did a lot of bootlegs and remixes at first.
WW also do it quite a lot. There are a lot of artists. And I gotta say, playing them live is also really cool. So I'm
effective.
not against it. Yeah. But
I just love it when it's done right, and you can hear someone was actually inspired, or whatever. Or but I checked promos today, and you just hear either a slap house version or a track that was already finished and
slap in the bass, man.
Yeah, exactly. Or they put a vocal on an existing track, and you can easily hear that too.
Check in the bass, man.
Or that one. But I think it's like, as an individual artist, yeah, it's a great way to gain followers and whatever, but I think that should never be your goal. I think your goal should be to add something to the music industry that isn't really there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can do it through remakes, but as a music industry as a whole, I think it would be so much cooler if you had some just way more stuff that is unique and new. And I mean, but it's super hard to break through then. But yeah.
But isn't that more the job of radio makers, playlist makers, taste makers, people who?
No. I think artists are responsible for changing where an industry, the music should go. Like radio makers, they check what do people want to hear. That's what we'll play. And I think an artist should do exactly not that. Or at least a bigger part of your career should be focused not on that, because sometimes, yes, you want to make stuff that people want to hear. But I think if you introduce them to new stuff, original stuff, there's two things that can happen. One, you fail miserably, and that's like 99.999%. That's going to happen. But could be this one moment where you think of something new, exciting, and there's many examples of hits that were in a new style.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's not a lot of experimenting going on, or I just miss all those experimental tracks because there's just so much shit in between my promo mill. Like,
you know what I think? I think there is a lot of experimenting. It's just that it doesn't see the light of day because
that's what I mean. Yeah,
because it gets stopped by playlists who don't want to put it into the playlist because it's not working. Radios who don't play it because nobody wants to hear it. So I think it's not the artists who are not being creative. It's just that the tastemakers and the gatekeepers are choosing for the money instead of the creativity.
Maybe that's a problem from lately as well. We have more gatekeepers again, where the gatekeepers were gone for a little while when the internet music just got big.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're back, and they're more
the bastards
keeping the gates more than ever, you know.
Keeping the gates.
Who's not keeping the gates is Bill Gates.
It's a nice slogan. Gatekeepers, keeping the gate. Oh man! But I think
talking about Bill Gates, I just got my vaccine.
Sorry, which one?
I can't say. I am in control. I have great 5G reception now. By the way.
Oh man!
I'm sorry. I'm
nice little segue there.
Yeah. But yeah, gatekeepers are in place, and radio, especially also in Holland. I'm not a fan of radio here. I think there's not a lot of new music being played or experimental music. Like we used to have 3FM,
mm-hmm.
and it was a bit more rocky, pop rocky, and they played like bands you'd never heard of. And and like really experimental, and I liked that. But the ratings went down because people don't want that anymore. Apparently, they want simple stuff they know. So I hope that will change, but we'll see.
You know what's funny? If there's sometimes I have clients from other countries in here, and they always tell me, when I get to the Netherlands and I turn on the radio, it's so cool for them to hear that they actually hear dance music on the radio. So in the Netherlands, we already are a few steps ahead of other countries that we even play that type of music on the radio. And to us, it just became super normal. And some of us might be even tired of it already. But it's already pretty.
That's very true. I think we are ahead with playing dance music, but then the dance music you hear now on the radio, you won't dance on it in a club. So that's a big difference, I guess.
I always liked when programs like Dance Department started. Like they always played the underground dance tracks on Saturday evening. Great stuff.
Yeah.
I really disliked it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it kind of bothered me that we had such a vibrant Dutch dance scene going to all corners of the world, and they kind of didn't give it attention. They invited a lot of other artists, which they were cool as well, fine by me, but the ones who were paving the way and actually made dance. I mean, the whole festival craze in dance, all the big festivals from Ultra and EDC, maybe even Tomorrowland, I don't know, but that time from 2010, 11, 12, that's when it got so enormously big.
Mm-hmm.
And it was driven by a certain sound, by the Swedes and the Dutch guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dutch guys like Afrojack, Hardwell, those guys, that's what lifted the industry even higher. And then we have a Dutch radio show in Holland, which didn't give that sound attention. Yeah, that kind of feels wrong to me. I mean, cool if you don't like it, but you gotta set aside your own personal preference, to be honest. But that's...
Isn't that the same story as the Formula One thing, as in... what was the... I had a bridge there. Like giving the underdog a platform instead of showing them people they already know?
No, because it was actually new. At one point here in Holland, there was also this other booking agency with a lot of artists. Actually, it was the biggest one, and they had this their own festivals going on. They were big, and they were always telling us, because we ran into each other in Holland, and they were saying, "No, we're doing the international sound, this and that. What you guys do, it's all bleeps and blah 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 blah," and it kind of were a bit condescending. Funny thing is, especially like Afrojack was a big mover over there. That guy actually almost single-handedly made sure that those bleeps were actually becoming the international sound. It was crazy. Nobody even knew that was possible. But that was so really cool about it. That was actually the most astounding thing we have seen in music landscape for decades. At a certain point, like festivals, they became so vibrant and so lively again, and it was actually that sound that had a big share in that. So I think we should embrace it as being so cool that we were all witness to it.
I think what also happened, is at least what I remember from high school, is that a lot of kids, every like whatever where they came from and whatever gender, whatever age, they all were like really into like Dirty House by Vado Gonzalez, stuff you could only find on the internet. And there were parties, and then that would be played, and people would ask for you to, hey, play Vado Gonzalez, play some Dirty House. And I remember also that indeed the radio doesn't follow that at all. But also, and I don't know how it is with kids now, but I'm not sure if they are that much into checking out music that is not mainstream or checking out music on the internet. It's just what I do. I've become very lazy with checking out music. Hey, Spotify, give me some playlist, and I'm just going to skip through and I hope I find something. Yeah, then you're always going to get the bigger hits and never the weird bleep and bloops from a guy named Afrojack who wasn't big, but everybody in our high school knew him. It was crazy.
It's that crate digging part that kind of disappeared over the years. Like
it feels like it disappeared, yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that really, well, when I started playing as well, that really gave me a lot of joy. Like going to a record shop, finding that one track that no one really had, and playing it the same night, seeing the club blow up, and like having people coming over to you asking to write down which track it was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that happens, if that still happens, if people go to the DJ and ask which track it was.
They now Shazam it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or they get to the
But also
forest,
less.
but yeah. Also
But
less.
it's because there's music is available everywhere at every device at every corner of the street. So I guess you don't have to search as much, because if you hear something, like you hear a vocal in it, you're like, I can find it online. I just type in the vocal but I remember back then it was like, if I don't ask this DJ what that particular mashup was, I'm never gonna know what the drop was from or whatever, and you would be like, I have to know this song.
Let me tell you this. I have one track which I'm still searching for. I once heard it like
amazing.
I once heard it like I think 15 years ago in a DJ set of Eric E at that time, and I once now know that it's a mashup. I already contact Rogue about it, like which one was that, but he couldn't tell me. And I swear to God, if I ever find that song, I will never stop playing it. It's amazing, but I can't find it.
Or you actually come to the conclusion it wasn't that good anyway.
No, because
it's probably better in your head. It's better in your head.
No, because I still have the sound clip, so I sometimes still listen to the sound clip I have, and it's amazing. But just to give you an idea of how far people will go to find that certain song, it's kind of comparable to collectibles, like
NFTs.
Yeah, well, NFTs in some sort of way, but having collectibles, so collecting certain things that are special to you. And I still remember that in times of Soulseek. Do you still remember Soulseek?
Yeah.
I don't.
Like sharing illegal music with each other and sharing promos that when the new hardware was out, someone seemed to have it in the community and you needed to trade 5 tracks to get that one track. Like, it was this crazy period, but that's dead. Like, that's not there anymore.
Everybody was searching for that certain ID. Yeah, that's true. And that's not there anymore.
But how do you think it's possible to get that back in some sort of way? Maybe in combination with NFTs or something. I'm just brainstorming here. But do you think there's an option?
I think it depends on how the festival culture will develop. Because festivals tend to be more, or at least 2019, from what I remember, like it's so long ago, but I remembered when it was more about the gimmick and like the hype, instead of what I feel was like more like, hey, it's about the music and people are actually listening to the tracks and are getting excited when they hear something new. I feel like that became less also on the festivals. And it was more about the artist playing. So I wondered, it's all a matter, I think, of how that will develop. If it will be more about the gimmick and artists, I think that will develop less. If it's more about the music, it definitely has a chance to come back like that again.
I don't think it will ever come back as the way it was. But, collectibles have been there forever. Back in the days, we used to collect marbles, then flippos, then Pokemon cards, I don't know what. I think, if anything could change it, it's the new, it's the NFT. It could, because when this all started, there was this craze, and it automatically became a community. And now we actually have to work for it to make it a community again. A little bit more dedicated community, and you can do it with an NFT and make those collectibles. If there's one corner I would look into for that would be that one. But I'm not sure in what form it will arise.
It's actually, I don't think, I'm not sure about that, because my point was actually saying I hope, or that could be, or it could be about the music. And I hope it will be about the music, but maybe it would be more based on some artist, and you don't care what they play as long as I see that artist. It's going more towards that already, so I think it will probably. I would love seeing people go crazy on certain music instead of, hey, this is my favorite artist. Hard to explain what I mean exactly about.
I think that will return as well, but I think it might return in a collaboration with like NFTs, for example, because that's, as Ralph already said, like that's the only option at this moment where I would say that's a great way to build scarcity, to build collectibles around it, to create like a community where people go and find that one little treasure that you're looking for and that you want to get. I do see a future there, if you ask me. And it's definitely something I miss in the industry at this moment, like that the will to go deep and the will to go one step further than the rest.
Yeah.
If that describes it best.
Wise words.
Is that something you guys still do? Because Jay, you already mentioned like you also became a bit lazier when it comes down to finding new music.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, today Max, who also has a studio here from Dirt Caps, he came in and I was just checking promos, and he's like, "Oh, and he actually asked, do you still check Beatport?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just checking my own promos and hope I find enough decent tracks for in my radio show." And then it's fine. And I don't really check Beatport anymore. Also because I don't have shows to play, and I need I need songs for in my radio show, which is also a different kind of checking out music. If I check music which I want to play in a club or festival, I'm really strict, or I'm really like not much makes my set. But for radio show I check it differently.
No, yeah, I mean, you're less critical when it comes to the radio show. When you're playing a big festival, you only have an hour and you want to display the best J Hardway there is. Yeah, you're going to be really, really picky about what you're going to play in that hour. Because you also have like a fair share of J Hardway tracks in there. Or for we do not. We have Bassjackers tracks. Sometimes also J Hardway tracks.
That's also a thing. What you're saying now, DJs would play, let's say in an hour, like 20 tracks maybe. 80% of those tracks would be different ones and would be hard to find, cool tracks. Now, if you see David Guetta, 90% is his own music, and there's very little room to become part of his set with your music.
If you even go further back, DJs were in the first, they were just music pickers, and a certain DJ picked his music, which was a certain sound. He didn't make it himself. Then the world became so transparent with the internet that the music picking was not a scarce skill set anymore. So then we turned to making music ourselves. And then the time of the nerd came there, the computer nerd.
Yep.
How do you guys think about exclusivity? Because I was talking about this with one of my clients earlier today, and I was mentioning the fact that 10 years ago, I really appreciated it when, for example, I got like the new Bassjackers track like 6 weeks in advance of release. Because I knew that there were only, 20 people, 20 DJs who were playing that song. And I was one of those people. And there was like a whole, you might call it a whole community of DJs who were sharing promos with each other 4 weeks, 8 weeks in advance of the release so that you had the exclusivity. I kind of feel like that died as well.
Yeah, that died as well.
Do you think that's still valuable?
Well, I do want to see my track played by the DJs I still look up to, and or see it played as much as possible. But it's not of as great value anymore than it was. Now you're more gonna look at seeing where other combinations can be made. We're working with a game at the moment. Jopke is bored.
I'm cutting this.
And now we're now working with a game, and you're more looking for sync deals yourself, whereas that's actually your publisher's job. Don't get me started on that.
It's for the next
We're not talking about
podcast.
that today.
Yeah, well,
Next
no,
week.
it's also something you can do yourself nowadays because of that transparency. You can go on LinkedIn and see who's the director of Coca-Cola Benelux, for instance,
Mhm.
and say, "Hey, dude, I have this track. It's called Brown Sugar, and it looks like Coca-Cola Brown Sugar. Let's go." Okay, but that's everything simplified. But yeah, you can do that and give more purpose to your music and more outlets. Yeah.
Yeah, but do you think that the exclusivity part? So, for example, Jay would send his track to you 4 or 6 weeks in advance of release. You can already start playing it in your show. Therefore, Jay's track is already being hyped in advance. You guys have exclusivity, so you become.
Yeah, but it's too small. We do it in a certain way. I mean, we release our music at Smash the House for lots of reasons, but also because Dimi and Mike, they play out our music at their shows, and they play it in the radio show. And they're really a good outlet for us. I mean, they're huge, and they're a good outlet for us to display our music. Plus, it also benefits them because it's cool in their sets. Obviously, of course, Dimi has a big hand in that because, as said before, he's one of the best A&Rs I know. But yeah, that's also in a certain way. Only giving exclusivity for the radio show is not going to cut it anymore. I don't think the radio shows get that much attention also anymore.
No.
Also, it's a statement of mine. There's just too much good music, and I think that's maybe my problem or DJ's problems in the commercial EDM style. 2012, you were looking for the best tracks, and there were a lot of inventive new tracks that were, not a lot, so to speak. So relatively of what was being released, the majority of that was good. So you would have to search for that. That's his teeth. That's how old Ralph is. So you had to you had to search for the tracks. Now there's just so much good music already released for the last 10 years that you can make a big room drop, but there's 100 of them or 1,000 of them, so it's harder to get that support from other DJs because of the amount of great music that's out there. So that just makes it difficult, I think.
I was just wondering because I was talking about it earlier today, and I started thinking about it, and I still see some value in it, and I do believe it definitely died in value over the years, but I think it still is some sort of value.
Yeah, I just miss those moments where and where there was hype about a track.
Yeah.
And the whole internet, at least the whole EDM scene on the internet, was wondering, this one track, this idea, where is it from? I saw David Guetta play it there. I saw Tiesto play it there. And that would happen with a lot of tracks back then. And I think there's just too much music now out. And I don't know. It's just that's gone. That whole...
Some food for thought.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to thank you for today.
Well, you're welcome.
You too. We will see each other in 2 weeks and start talking about publishing.
I'm curious.
I kind of have the feeling you guys have a lot to say about that.
No, it's a good subject because I am still very... Well, publishing is made more important sometimes than it is. That's an interesting topic, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's valuable for people to hear your opinion on it because it's... I think a lot of people don't really know what it is to start off with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And don't know what they sign off with, if they get an advantage or whatever. But it's just an interesting topic to talk about.
I think it's contracts actually are one of the most important things still in music to be discussed. And we're going to do it in 2 weeks. I think sometimes the industry is really deceitful when they. Oh, hello.
Ew.
Yeah, I wrote it down so that we don't forget it next week. So
sometimes they say it's industry standard, whereas it's totally not, and they deceive you. And I think it's an important thing. And well, everybody, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Next week.